few weeks ago, this year's annual appeal was announced, which helps fund numerous services that the Archdiocese provides for all parishes. Each of us should have received the mailing, so I thank those of you who have already sent it back in. You can see in the bulletin how we're doing so far toward our goal. This is Commitment Weekend, where we're encouraged to participate if we haven't yet. We have commitment cards and envelopes at the back of the church if you need one. Even if you prayerfully decide that you're not able to assist this year, please take a card and fill out the place where it says that you'll pray for everybody in the Archdiocese. We need to pray always for one another. You're welcome even to put the cards in the collection basket, and we'll send it in for you if you'd like. Thank you so much for your generosity and sacrifices, both in the support of this appeal and to our parishes and schools. But I don't really want to spend too much time on that today. Our readings give us the image of a vineyard. The psalm says, the vineyard of the Lord is the house of Israel. The image of the vineyard represents the people of God, both Israel in the time of the Bible and us, the church today. We are God's vineyard. And even the whole world we can count as God's vineyard because he wants to plant every person to be a fruitful disciple. Unfortunately, the way the vineyard of the Lord is described, things are not going that well. The first reading laments that though God worked hard to till and plant and care for his vineyard, his people did not yield a fruitful harvest, instead becoming overgrown with weeds. And in the gospel, the landowner, who represents God, leases his vineyard to tenants who refuse to give the produce, first to the servants, and then they even kill the landowner's own son, who of course is Jesus. We are called to produce fruit. Both the times of the Old Testament and the New Testament, the people of God often failed to fruitfully follow the Lord. And today that happens as well. We look around and we can see signs that the vineyard is not as fruitful as it could be. As we're looking at the planning for the future, there's a sadness of parish members declining. So many no longer interested in the Christian faith, the pressure of keeping our parishes and schools going, both financial burdens and having the people willing to help with events and ministries, and fewer priests to serve. Put on top of that, the recent natural disasters and horrendous acts of evil in our country. The dreary weather might not help, including the concern to get back out in the fields. So it's on my heart today that we need some encouraging words, some words of hope. The second reading says, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is gracious, if there is any excellent or if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. This past week, Pope Francis reminded us that we are to be missionaries of hope. So allow me to be a missionary of hope for you today. I want to spend some moments sharing with you a vision of hope that I have for our parishes and schools. We've been given a vision from the Archdiocese, one church encountering Jesus, equipping disciples, living mercy. But what would this look like at our parishes? Even though we're small, even though we can't stop certain changes, demographics, we have the foundation of something amazing for ensuring that the presence of the Lord will remain in this area for years to come. So in this vision, I dream that every single person in our parishes has a profound encounter with Jesus Christ, that he would break into our lives in a new way. Yes, I knew that God loved me before, but now I know. I know I have met him in a way that makes everything different. I cannot go back to just doing things my own way. He is now the center of my life. I envision that our parishes focus above all else on providing opportunities that every person be able to meet the Lord in that way. That all would come to see the good, the bad, the joyful moments and sad ones that happen to us each day in a new and different light, in the light of Christ. That we would be renewed in our love for the sacraments, Coming to experience the Mass is what it is, the place where heaven and earth meet, believing in a deeper way that this is Jesus himself, his body and blood that we receive. I dream that as our love for Jesus grows, our dissatisfaction with our own weaknesses and sinfulness grows as well. That we'd be convinced that there is no place where we can experience God's love and mercy more than when we enter the confessional. That we get to hear the words of Jesus himself through the voice of the priest, that you are loved and forgiven, O child of God. I dream that our longing for Jesus increases in our entire parish to the point where we make more time in our lives for prayer, especially time in adoration before the Blessed Sacrament. Oh, if that would happen. If we had a parish of Eucharistic adorers, then the Lord could do even more amazing things here. The more we love the Lord, the more we want to know him, and so adult formation opportunities would be asked for and provided. Parents would look to our schools and family formation programs to help pass the faith on to their children. And they choose our schools and family formation because they themselves have been impacted by Christ in their life. They want their children to know the Lord the way they do. And the parish provides, and parents avail themselves of this formation, knowing that only by living out of the faith at home with their children will their children truly grow in that faith as well. Our students would challenge each other to grow as disciples, being witnesses to their peers to turn to Christ and avoid the empty temptations of the world. Empowered by learning about our faith, being forgiven in frequent confession, reception of the Eucharist, the time in prayer before the Lord, God's love would overflow into the desire to introduce others to the one whom we now love before all else. Our parishes would begin even more to seek out those that are outside the parish communities, those especially in need, the poor, the sick, the elderly, the lonely. We would no longer fall into the trap of thinking that the priest should do everything, or that that's what the parish staff is for, or some other volunteer is going to do it. But instead, the love of Christ compels us to ask, God, what is it that you want me to do? Walking with those who suffer, for example, we can be Christ at their side, helping them to understand the power of suffering united with Christ. In the midst of serving our neighbor, we would learn how to naturally share our faith, how to gently invite others to experience the same Jesus who has changed our lives. We would want people to come to our parish to meet Christ, and no longer to contact them only trying to get them to work or to give money. We want Jesus to change their lives in the way he has done to my own. This hope, as I've been trying to describe in this vision, is not some kind of misplaced optimism. Hope is confidence in the transforming power of God's Spirit at work in our hearts, in our parishes, and in our world. Even if we see signs that our vineyard is not as healthy as it could be, God has a vision, a plan for it to be renewed. Even the fact that when he sent his Son, though he was killed, that cannot stop God. We know that evil will not have the upper hand, and that God's love revealed on the cross will ultimately triumph.